Welcome everybody to the Flipdish Webinar, a practical guide to managing your restaurants through the coronavirus situation. It's amazing to see so many participants here, the webinar. So I will firstly introduce your hosts today. So I'm Conor McCarthy, one of the co-founders and the CEO at Flipdish. We have James McCarthy, co-founder and chief commercial officer here at Flipdish, Heather Thompson, the global head of customer success, and Stephen Crowley, our CFO. So today we are going to talk to you about what we have seen so far with the coronavirus. James will bring you through that. I will briefly say a note on how to handle conflicting advice and some general advice for handling the coronavirus. Heather then will give you some very useful restaurant-specific advice for handling this situation. And then our CFO, Stephen, will talk about the favorite thing any accountant wants to talk about, and that is how to reduce costs and potentially ramp down aspects of your business if you need to. At the end, we will have a quiz to test which of you were listening and who were not, and give away some prizes for the best students. And then we'll host a Q&A session. Before we jump into it, for some context, we'll give you a bit of information about Flipdish. A lot of the people here at the webinar are not Flipdish customers. So we'll just say a few words about Flipdish. So Flipdish is a food technology company. We're made up of over 100 people. Our headquarters are in Dublin here, and we have operations across Europe and the UK and the USA. We work with over 2,000 restaurants, cafes, and takeaway customers in 12 countries. So we provide online ordering websites for click and collect and for delivery. We provide native mobile apps to make it really easy for restaurant customers to place orders. We have a self-service kiosk solution, which allows restaurants to free up their staff and allow their customers to easily place orders in store without talking to a staff member. We have a comprehensive suite of analytics and reports to help restaurants make smart business decisions. And when customers come on board with us, we help them ramp up very quickly online. We provide printed material and post material they can put on their Google websites. And we also have a managed marketing service, which helps restaurants succeed and thrive online and helps restaurants get their customers back from those pesky marketplaces. And we care deeply about our customer success. We have a team here who is dedicated to making sure all our restaurants are winning online. So I will now hand you over to James to talk about what we've seen so far with the COVID-19.
So my name is James. I'm one of the co-founders of Flipdish, and my brief today was to talk about some of the learnings we have from our customer base across Europe, and talking about some of the realities that we've seen of the coronavirus, and this, and also to bring a little bit of doom and gloom before we move on to Heather, who's going to talk about some of the practical things that restaurants are doing to survive and thrive through this crisis. So here we can see a map of the spread of the coronavirus, and clearly we can see that Europe is the epicenter. Some statistics: in China, there have been 80,000 cases so far and over 3,000 deaths, and that's a fatality rate of about 4%. And that's from a country that has responded very quickly and well to this crisis and was able to build hospitals within 2 weeks. What we're seeing in Europe is something quite different, and the reaction has been much slower. And unfortunately, I believe that it's going to lead to higher fatality rate, and we will already have at least 250,000 people affected by the coronavirus. So here are some of the cases to date in European countries, and due to the incubation period, the actual cases are probably significantly higher than what's being reported. And in Europe, the growth rate is still growing. It's still growing exponentially. And in France, Spain, Germany, Ireland, and the UK, we're tracking on the same growth rate as Italy, which is exponential. And there's no reason to believe that the fatality rate is going to be any lower than what we've seen in China. And here are some of my own projections that I've created to show how bad things really could get. From the current growth rate, if it continues, the Italian population will totally be infected by early May, and the entire UK and Irish population by late May. And if the death rate is similar to China, and I think it could be higher, anywhere from 2 to 6 million people in the UK alone would die. So in here we have the data. So this is today, and this is if the growth rate continues. However, we can't do things to prevent the growth rate from being exponential. And as we can see in China, they have reduced the growth rate, and it's turned into a sigmoid curve, a S-shaped curve here. And that's essentially what we need to do outside of China and in Europe. So this is an interesting slide showing how this crisis is affecting restaurants globally. It's from OpenTable, and I'm sure many of you have heard of OpenTable. They're a company of 1,400 employees. They're a reservation tool, and we can see here in the UK, there's been an 88% drop in reservations, and in Ireland and Canada, for example, almost 100%. So essentially, people are not going out to restaurants anymore. And here's some information about what's happening in the Flipdish territories. So we're active, like Connor mentioned, in Ireland, the UK, Spain, France, Germany, and North America. So in Ireland, 50% of, sorry, that's not quite right. 10% of Flipdish stores in Ireland are closed temporarily. Delivery is functioning as normal. Collection is as normal. And most restaurants are closing their dine-in business to, I suppose, protect reputation and also their customers and their staff. In the UK, there's been no change in Flipdish customers in terms of closing. Delivery and collection is functioning as normal. In Spain, 50% of all the Flipdish stores are closed temporarily. There have been some restrictions on collection enforced. There has been a countrywide lockdown, and if you're out on the streets, you need to have a reason. In France, we're seeing 30% of all Flipdish stores being closed temporarily. And if you're out, once again, on the street, you need to have a declaration on your honor that you have a good reason to be out. In Germany, we're seeing about 10%, which is similar to what we're seeing in Ireland. Apologies for the wrong text there. So online ordering drop off in Spain. We're seeing last Sunday, there was a 70% drop off from the previous Sunday in online orders at Flipdish in Spain. The online ordering drop off in Ireland, from last Sunday to the previous Sunday, there was a 12% drop. And in the UK, there was a 11% drop. So we can see that delivery and online ordering is not faring quite so badly as the dine-in business, as evidenced by the data shown by OpenTable. And on the bright side, some Flipdish customers are actually doing very, very well, and their online orders have increased hugely. So we have a Dutch customer, and their online orders have increased 600% from the previous period, 7 days ago. We have a Thai restaurant in Ireland that's increased online orders 9% over the past week. A pizza takeaway in Dublin has grown online orders by 200% over the past week. A Chipper in the UK has grown online orders by 78% over the past week, and an Indian restaurant in London has grown online orders by 4% over the last week. So that's just showing that if you can adapt and embrace technology and delivery in particular, you can actually increase your orders. So here's a snapshot of sales data from Flipdish customers. We're seeing orders placed using card has increased over 10% in the last week, which makes sense with people not wanting to interact with cash. And from a sample of 70 stores, Chinese and Thai sales have declined. As you can see here, 10% for Chinese and 8% for Thai, while Chipper, Indian, and pizza have increased. Interestingly, the average order value of customers has increased by 13% from €21.60 to €24.60 from last week. And the number of orders being placed in the afternoon from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. has increased by 7 percentage points, which makes sense, most likely because people are working from home. So a very quick snapshot of one of our customers who is proving that really you can thrive if you adapt and shift quickly to online ordering and delivery. And here's a snapshot of their weekly sales, which have increased 100%. So that's pretty much it for me. And thanks very much for listening. I'll just leave you on some kind of summary points. Restaurants who are able to adapt, and businesses, and it counts for Flipdish as well, can survive and even thrive throughout the crisis. And I firmly believe the companies who get through the next couple of weeks and months can come out stronger at the other end. Social distancing is key to stop the spread of the virus, and Flipdish are here to help. Thanks very much. I'll pass it over to Connor again.
Thank you, James. So this coronavirus is very new. It's spreading in different ways that we aren't hugely familiar with, and therefore a lot of advice that is out there is supposition and not evidence-based. So this means we don't know if it's correct or not, and that makes it difficult for us to know should we follow the advice. And we think we should take one approach to this and ask ourselves, what will happen if we follow the advice and it's wrong? Compare that with what will happen if I don't follow the advice and the advice turns out to be correct. So as an example of this, some advice out there is to wear masks, and some people say masks don't help. Other people say that masks will prevent you from touching your face, and you can touch surfaces which have the coronavirus on it and pick it up and touch your face, or you could have the coronavirus and touch your face and then something else and spread the coronavirus. It is not, there is no final evidence on how useful they are. Thus, if we follow the advice and it turns out to be wrong, the worst case scenario is we have to spend less than €100 on masks, and we need to train our staff to wear them. We also get the positive that it gives a positive impression on customers and shows that you are running a healthy establishment and care about their health. But if you don't follow the advice and it turns out to be correct, then your staff may spread the coronavirus and spread across all Flipdish customers. That's hundreds of thousands of people eating food every single week. Or your staff could contract the coronavirus and not be able to work, and people may die. So when you compare the two options, for every single piece of advice, it will help you work out should you follow that piece of advice or not. So this webinar is going to be focused on advice specific to restaurants. So we've only a very small amount of general advice. We've boiled it down to only 3 things. So the first piece of advice that we'd like to offer is to make an assumption that you personally have the virus. It is shown that people can spread the virus without having any symptoms, and it's very possible that you do have it. And if you make the assumption that you do, it is much easier to change your own habits. And And at the same time as doing that, you should assume that everyone else has the virus and you don't. And that will also allow you to more easily change your habits and give you permission to tell people to change their behavior. Everyone on this webinar is interested in this situation and is going out of their way to learn about it, but lots of people don't have the same information that we have. Only 2 weeks ago here in Flipdish, everyone was working in the office when people were dying in Italy, and we hadn't yet educated ourselves to how we needed to change. But now that we know, it's our duty to help everyone else understand that change needs to be made. One piece of advice that is universally accepted as good is to wash your hands very frequently. The virus survives for days, and some studies say for up to 30 days on surfaces. If you have the virus, your body is shedding virus cells and can put it on surfaces. So it's very important to wash your hands. And lastly, in your place of business, you should keep it very well ventilated. It is shown that if somebody coughs, micro droplets of cough can hang in the air for a couple of hours. And this means that somebody else can walk in and breathe in that air and contract the virus. So it's very useful and important to keep your establishments ventilated, and also to keep a distance of 2 meters away from other people. I will now pass you over to Heather to talk about one last point, actually. If you are interested, and I hope you are, in more general advice on how to handle the health implications of the coronavirus, these 2 links have really, really good advice, and I'd highly recommend taking a look. Over to Heather.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I've been working directly with customers across the world over the last couple of weeks on what they can do to stay open, to stay in business, to stay profitable, and to stay positive in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. I'm really pleased today to be able to share those learnings and the practical action steps with this wider audience. So now I'm sure I've made you all very excited. You're like, what brilliant thing is Flipdish going to tell us about what we can do to help our business? There is no magic pill for this pandemic. Just like the advice for stopping the spread of the virus, our advice is all about doing the basics well and consistently. The advice for our health right now and to stop the spread, we're being told, wash your hands, sneeze or cough into a tissue or your elbow, keep your distance. None of this is new or revolutionary advice, but it is working. China is coming out the other end of the pandemic. The curve is flattening in Italy and Spain. Equally, our advice is about doing the basics well and consistently. I firmly believe what you do consistently is more important than what you do every now and again. And I guess this leads me nicely into one of the first points that you guys can focus on. So train your staff. It's not about training your staff to do the right thing. It's about training them so they can't get it wrong. We need to be taking every precaution that we possibly can right now. As Connor mentioned, wearing face masks, making sure that people are hand washing regularly, proper ventilation, impeccable hygiene is crucial right now. And we need to be doing everything we can to inform both staff and customers if they're coming into your stores that this is something that you're taking very, very seriously. Now is the time for action. It's the time for people to speak up. So you're absolutely welcome to ask your staff to report problem behaviours, either from other members of staff or from customers. So around the concepts of hygiene, social distancing, and making sure that we're doing everything that we can. Perception is as powerful as reality. So it's really important when either your delivery drivers are dropping food off or people are coming into your shop, that they feel really confident and reassured that you're following the government guidelines around. And as much as we're talking about keeping businesses alive, our health is our real wealth, and that needs to be our top priority. These are extraordinary times that we're living in. This isn't business as usual. Like, we need to change. We need to make hard decisions, and we need to take action, and we need to take action now. And one way you can do this is, again, like I said, focus on the basics and do them well. So for a lot of folks, you know, that could be looking at your menu and revising your menu. So now is the time to be creative. You know, we're not just eating as consumers, we're not just eating for now. It's not just our Friday night pizza or Saturday night takeaway. You saw the kind of empty shopping aisles that were happening across Ireland and the UK last week. People are thinking about what they're going to eat for the next little bit, not just about what they're going to eat tonight. So I've seen customers who maybe have pasta dishes offer like a larger kind of bulk size portion that's really easy to reheat and reheats well, so it doesn't compromise your food quality or your brand perception either. Everyone's at home together. The kids are off school, mum and dad are home, working from home. So making sure that you have family friendly options is really important, as now as the whole family is home together. Before, kids' meals are kind of just something we throw on a menu. It's not really very important. Now the kids are also at home, and like you said, mum and dad are trying to work from home. So maybe having an option to order in their lunch is actually quite attractive. And also you know, maybe you want to look at slimming down your usual menu. So maybe thinking about which suppliers are being more reliable and consistent right now. It's also maybe looking at what items you have good margin on. So, you know, selling items where you have a very poor margin is probably not what is best for business right now. Like I'm saying here, now is the time for caution, not choice. And it's also maybe a time to get rid of, you know, a few of those things that are on your menus that aren't really the best sellers. And here at Flipdish, we're actually able to help our customers with data on what is their best selling items on their menu, which is really helpful. The big advice, so I know we've lots of our customers and some who aren't on this webinar today. So anyone who is on online ordering or with their Flipdish online ordering, you know, you guys are ahead of the curve here. You're at an advantage. But for anyone who isn't, you know, don't worry. I love the proverb where it says the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So if you're not online, today is the day to go online. And we've helped multiple businesses across the UK and Ireland over the last week, 10 days, to get online quickly to allow their business to survive. In the state of so our Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, gave a State of the Nation address on St. Patrick's Day. And one of the major things he said as a tool in actually beating the COVID-19 was shopping online from local businesses. So, you know, our world leaders are essentially telling everyone to order online. So it's really important that you're giving your customers that option. When you are online, there's lots of advantages. So click and collect, it means people aren't queuing in the shop. It's reducing wait time. And it allows you to kind of get creative about how you get that food to people as well. Online deliveries have never been so important. Obviously, in that instance, people don't even need to go into the store. When you go to the situation that's in like France and Italy, where they're on lockdown, they're actually not allowed to leave their house. So they're very reliant on the delivery option. And also then there's kind of in-store digital ordering tools like the self-service kiosks. And again, these are really useful because you don't need to stand near people in a queue. There's no need to handle cash. And, you know, obviously I understand you need to touch a kiosk, but it's entirely within the customer's control to wear gloves, to sanitize their hands, to wash their hands afterwards. Whereas if you're in a queue, you know, you're not really in control if someone else might sneeze or cough on top of you. And obviously the high hygiene standards that you're asking your in-store staff, your delivery drivers to adhere to, they would equally apply if you did have a self-service kiosk, you know, wiping after every use, having gloves and hand sanitizer available beside them. So I talked about kind of, you know, how do you get your food to your customers? And for maybe some folks or perhaps restaurants or bars or cafes on the line, this might require you to rethink your business model and think about how you're actually allowing your customers to get access to your delicious food. So one major trend that we've seen is this concept of contactless or no-touch delivery. So this is adhering by social distancing kind of guidelines where we're trying to limit the amount of physical contact. So this is where maybe you're asking customers to pick up their food from a designated location outside their house. If they're living in an apartment block, you're leaving it in the lobby. You're making sure that your delivery drivers are leaving that 2-meter distance between them and the customer. And I suppose what we've been trying to do at Flipdish as well is help our customers, let their customers know about this. So many folks have been writing, their customers have been writing requests in the notes section for contactless delivery. So it's definitely something that consumers are looking for right now. And also we have a pop-up on our Flipdish website where we can inform our restaurant customers about it as well. I know some folks have said to me, oh, but what about the weather, Heather? You know, it's always raining, it's Ireland, it's Scotland. You know, now is the time to be creative. You know, that could be solved with a simple plastic storage box that the food is left in, you know, on the person's doorstep, that you can clean and sanitize after every use. Like really right now, it's the time to find solutions, not problems. Like this is what will help your business more. A big trend that we've seen is many customers who didn't previously offer delivery now are. And I guess through the Flipdish network, we've many local delivery partners across Ireland and the UK that we've been able to kind of connect them into. And the reality is for a lot of these businesses, without switching their business model to offering delivery, they would now be closed. So if that isn't something that you're currently doing, it is definitely something, you know, that you should consider. I know traditionally we love to get, you know, our coffee as we go to work, but obviously at the moment, you know, we're not going to work. So what we need to think about as well is that there's a new normal being created for our customers. How we used to order things before isn't how we're going to order them in the future. And you really need to think about how you can still get your food to people within the current environment that we're in. I've seen some customers do some really creative things, like setting up kind of a drive-through, so outside their store, kind of honk if you're hungry, and also do curbside pickup, which is a very American term, but essentially it just means that the staff in store will bring the order to the car for the person, perhaps leave it in the back seat or in the boot. And this, I've also seen customers kind of be really creative with this and create a really cool video that they've been able to share on their social media about it as well. I would definitely ask, you know, people to consider closing your dining areas. You know, listen to the health advice around social distancing. If you're not able to create those gaps within those areas, it's probably best to not have them there. Really now, like I said, it's time for action. We need to be proactive. You know, you don't want to be the business that was waiting to be told to do something. You want to be the one to take that initiative and make that decision yourself. Really, when we go back to, you know, our health being our wealth, is having a dining area really the best way to serve our customers right now? Perhaps not. And by making the decision to close it, it allows you to focus on areas that are going to be more beneficial for your business, but also safer for your customers. So like click and collect or doing delivery. And I'm a big believer in what you focus on expands. So if you're able to focus on your click and collect and delivery, you'll definitely see the benefit from that. I just wanted to give a quick example of a great customer who's done this. He's just recently come online with Flipdish over the last week. It's called the White Moose Cafe. They're here in Dublin, Ireland. So they've gone online. They've went online very quickly. They're like a very quirky kind of cafe brunch. Do delicious toasties and breakfast burritos, stuff that you traditionally would have dined in for. They would have only offered a kind of in-store takeout option. Now people can get this to their home, and people are loving it. They're also delivering. So again, previously that wouldn't have been part of their business model, but they know now that's the best way for them to get their food to the customers who want it. And they're also having a lot of fun, as you can see by the picture here, with how they're actually promoting it online. So they have nearly about 100,000 followers on Instagram, and they've been posting really great videos about, you know, the delivery driver out and about with the order, showing the orders coming in, some of the chef notes people are leaving, and just showing their customers how to use the online ordering system as well. So yeah, I mean, really, this is a business that maybe without taking these actions could potentially be closed right now, and instead they're not. They're really thriving. Another big, and I think James mentioned this as well, is we're seeing a shift from cash to card. You know, cash is no longer king. It's probably one of the major ways we could potentially spread the virus to each other. Cash is one of the dirtiest things that we handle every day. And in this day and age, you know, everyone has debit cards, credit cards, they probably have Revolut cards. If you're a Flipdish customer, you'll also have Google Pay and Apple Pay. So there's many other options for your customers to pay by. And we've seen a swing from about 63% about a week ago of card payments to about 77. I would be very surprised if that number wasn't in the high 90s, you know, within the next 2 to 4 weeks. So I really would urge anyone who is still accepting cash to really consider, you know, disabling or disallowing that method. I know we normally do, you know, we'd like to give the consumer the choice on how they would like to pay. But again, if we link back to this, I have the virus, you have the virus, it's our responsibility to try stop the spread. And having contactless payment methods is going to be much more effective in that, because it's going to reduce the amount of cash that's being handled without impacting on your consumer choice as well. Like I said, they still have credit, debit, and the different online payment methods as well. So my other advice would be around communication. You know, speak with your customers. One of the best ways to overcome the current fear and uncertainty is to communicate. So in my 21 years of working with customers, nobody has ever said, Heather, you're over communicating. I don't think it's a thing. We like to know what's happening. You know, we want to be reassured. If you don't communicate with your customers, they're going to make up their own stories that may not reflect your reality. So rumors going around in WhatsApp groups that there's, you know, an outbreak in the area or that your shop is closed. And you've probably already seen them in your WhatsApp groups. I know I certainly have. So it's really important that you're taking the lead on the communication to your customers so they're informed from the right sources. It's all about reassurance, you know, so your customers want to know that you're on top of this. And again, you obviously are. If you're here at this webinar, you're interested in learning more and about understanding what you can do. So let your customers know that. I've seen people do fantastic videos or taking pictures of the hygiene standards that they're now operating under. That's really reassuring for customers when they see that. We also understand it's such a busy and crazy time. So what we've done here at Flipdish is actually pre-created some content. It's actually available on our blog, so not only our customers can use it, but anyone on the line is more than welcome to. It's free. It's flipdish.com/blog. And there's different texts and graphics that you can use on your social media channels to get the word out. So everything from, hey, we're still open, to here's some of the precautions that we're now taking as a result of this. And remember, you know, people are at home right now. They're on social media. They're scrolling on their phone. Their phone is actually their connector to the world right now. So they want to hear from you on that medium. And that's kind of getting into where I'm saying, like, digital communication channels. Obviously, a lot of our face-to-face have been removed. So we're relying on things like social media, WhatsApps, SMS, and push notifications. So for any non-Flipdish customers, push notifications, it's a service we offer to any of our customers who have apps, and allows them to kind of send short and snappy messages to their customer, and it just pops up on their actual phone screen. So it's very cool and people really like it. Make sure, you know, you're posting on your social media very regularly. Post pictures, post videos, post posters. So they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I think in that instance, then a video is worth about 100,000. I know often we're very scared of them, or we think we don't have the time to make them. But people enjoy when they're real and authentic. They don't need to be edited. You know, it's really fine to do it on your phone, and just to give your customers a snapshot into what's happening in your store at the moment. Get personal, like give them an insight into what's happening in your business. People like to see the kind of reality of what's going on, and people want to support their local businesses or those businesses in their local areas. I would recommend not to distribute printed materials right now. So just like cash, maybe handing out menus and flyers, there is a potential that, you know, they could have been left on a surface or something. So it wouldn't be the most advisable right now. So again, I would definitely focus more on your online channels right now. But don't disappear. Even unfortunately, if you do take the decision to close, even maybe temporarily, dropping off the face of the earth, you know, won't do your business any good either. So if you think about the algorithms that a lot of these big kind of digital sites like Facebook and Google work with, if you don't post for a number of months, like already they give you a very small likelihood that your content will be seen by your followers. If you're completely inactive on your page, then that could go down even further. So probably if any of you guys are into fitness, maybe your gym or your yoga studio has been closed, you more than likely have seen you know, your PT or your yoga teacher posting up at home workouts. So really in this industry, we can do the same, maybe post a favorite recipe that people can follow at home without obviously giving away your hard-won secret recipes. You can remind people to support businesses in their areas. I love the concept of, you know, the throwback Thursday hashtag that you normally see. Maybe you can ask your followers to post pictures of the food that they've ordered from you in the past. You could post up a picture of your restaurant or your bar when it was really busy and, you know, miss you. Like Instagram is super for all the really fun kind of graphics you can put on your pictures. Gratitude is a big thing in this time of fear and uncertainty. An attitude of gratitude is really important. We're really grateful to be here. Maybe asking your customers to interact with you. A lot of the time we don't because we think they're too busy to, but right now people have the time. And I would say the, you know, overall kind of sentiment online is very positive. And this was just an example of some of that pre-created content that I was mentioning. And it's just really to make our customers' lives as easy as possible. Like I said, it's available on the Flipdish blog along with other informative articles. And please check it out if you did think this would be useful to your business. And again, I just wanted to maybe like show a little bit of an example of a customer who's having great, like, as James said, surviving and thriving. So this is one of our Dutch customers. So you may or may not hear sound with it, which is perfect. And then you'll see the subtitles as well. So I just thought this was a wonderful example of someone who's implementing, you know, pieces of this advice. They're really focusing in on their delivery. They're really focusing in on their online. They're being really creative about how they get the food to their customers. They're communicating with their customers. They're creating this video, which they've shared on Facebook, but also on their YouTube channel. And you'll hear him having mentioned about slimming down the menu to ensure they're getting good quality food. So that's really important to them as well. So that kind of feeds into, well, should I be promoting right now, Heather? Like, what marketing should I be doing? And I think there are some marketing tactics that you can use. So I would very much say, you know, promote your delivery, promote your online, promote your takeout options. That's what consumers want right now. They don't want to go into stores. They want to keep themselves safe, but they still want delicious food. And we still want our Friday night treat. So really push those channels. With everything comes an opportunity, and we're seeing new trends emerge. So we've probably all heard of Netflix and chill. Well, every day is Netflix and chill now. There's lots of binge watching of new series going on. So there's an opportunity there to tie in, you know, renaming a meal deal to like their favorite show on Netflix or something that's very popular. You know, the days are merging, the hours are merging into one, so we can, you know, definitely use that to our advantage and have maybe an all-day special. And there's lots of kind of clever ways, I suppose, that we can just like be relevant to the context that we're currently living in. I always say to folks, dust off those past promotions that really worked. You know, there's obviously things that your customers really enjoyed, that was something that really connected with them. So now is the time to bring out those secret weapons. So a good example could be a buy one, get one free. And that works in really well to what I was talking about before, about this concept of not just eating for now, but eating for the next day. So definitely think about what has worked in the past and see how you can rework that into the current climate. And a very relevant one of this will be Mother's Day, which is happening in Ireland and the UK this Sunday. So again, you think about the family connection. It will be the whole family together. Unfortunately, Mammy won't be brought out to dinner this Mother's Day, but she can definitely have a delicious meal delivered by a wonderful restaurant or cafe locally. Here at Flipdish, we offer our customers a kind of automated customer loyalty program, which is to get their customers ordering more frequently, and also our retention marketing, which is to stop users kind of falling off or becoming lapsed users. And advice we'll be giving our customers over the coming weeks is probably to up the frequency on them. So most folks would maybe choose to buy 10 meals, get your 11 free, but perhaps in the future, it might make more sense to offer 5 or 6 and get one free, just to encourage people to order a little bit more frequently. And that kind of feeds into my last point is, at the moment, I would say don't discount. Like right now, we all, you know, your business needs to make as much money as it possibly can, because we just don't know what's happening next. The situation is so fluid and changes really every day. Right now, as you can see from the stats from our customers, people are ordering online. We have customers whose sales are growing. You don't need to go straight to discount. Absolutely do a promotion or offer around relevant events like the Netflix, like the Mother's Day, but save the discounts for a week or two and maybe we'll need them more. And what we envisage happening is consumer buying power will decrease, as unfortunately people are losing their jobs and being laid off. So over time, people's discretionary spending may reduce, and that'll be, the time to bring the discounting out of your arsenal. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about, community. So this concept of we're all in this together, and it's so important. And that's why here at Flipdish, we wanted to run this webinar today, because our customer success is really how we're successful. And it's the same for yourself and your customers. And we've seen lots of wonderful examples where our customers are connecting in with their local hospitals, providing, free food to the frontline workers in either the NHS or the HSC. There's a kind of an initiative in Ireland called Feed the Heroes. And there's a GoFundMe page set up. So actually consumers can contribute to that. And then that initiative will actually pay different restaurants to deliver food. So I think that's wonderful. As much as we obviously want our frontline workers to be well fed and motivated, we all, obviously we want your businesses to survive and thrive as well. So that kind of helps both parties. Before coronavirus was the big thing we were all talking about, before the most hot topic was the kind of hashtag be kind. So in a world where you can be anything, be kind. And we're really seeing that follow through in how people are reacting to this current pandemic. So people want to support their local businesses. Whether you're an independent retailer or you have a chain across the UK, people want to support businesses that are in their local area. When all of this is over, they want to have a coffee from you. They want to make sure they know your staff, they enjoy your food, and they want that to continue. So that's a big message to, don't be shy about letting your customers know that, their support is more important than ever. And if, you need to ask, because if you don't ask, you won't get. So moving on, I suppose, from restaurant specific advice, I wanted to finish a little bit on maybe just oh, sorry, and this is just a good example of one of our customers here in Ireland, who've been really doing some wonderful work about sharing this kind of feed the heroes, and leaving some lovely messages on pizza boxes for their customers. So I wanted to finish with some positives. So just, it's, not all doom and gloom. I know it's scary. I know it's uncertain. We all have a lot of anxiety around it, on a personal level, on a professional level. But there are some positives that we can reassure ourselves with. So if you look at this graph here, it's really looking at the Spanish flu pandemic, which would have been the last, I suppose, really major pandemic. And here you'll see that the black line, which is showing that for that pandemic, people in their 20s, in their 30s were dying from this. And this time around, these aren't considered to be high risk categories. So it's although it's obviously, has a fatality death, it could have been much more deadly for the healthy than it actually is right now. And I think the message is our world is changing all the time, and this has really shown us that we have to be prepared, should a more deadly virus appear in the future. So this is kind of, all of these things that we're talking about now, about being online, about great hygiene, about our business models. This is probably going to be the new normal at the end of this, and hopefully we'll have learned a lot of personal and professional lessons from it. One good thing is, 80% of the cases are mild, and that's why we're being encouraged to practice social distancing, and it's so important. And we don't want to be the ones to pass that on to the people who are at the high risk category. People are recovering. There's a wonderful story last week about a 103-year-old grandmother in China who recovered from the disease. It is just nice to hear those stories at a time where we're kind of, obviously, mainstream media are really just reporting on the more high profile or kind of more negative pieces of the story. And there are lots of vaccine prototypes already been worked on for it as well. If you were to be in any business right now, I would say everyone in the line is in one of the best businesses to be in, which is food. So food is critical to life. Even if we're working from home, we still need to eat. Even if all of this is going on, we still need to eat. Versus maybe some other industries which are much more discretionary. It's not necessarily necessary. As much as I love to get a massage or my nails done, it's not critical, whereas food is. And this is why you're seeing, as James showed, the trend across Europe. They're allowing takeout and delivery restaurants to stay open. You're playing a really important part in feeding these frontline workers. And you're also keeping morale high in your communities. That's really important right now, that we have some joy in our life. And I would liken, as they talk, obviously we talk a lot about healthcare workers, but equally there's so many people in our society that's keeping it moving as normal. Those people who are stacking our shelves in the supermarket, those people, those hauliers who are moving all of the supply chain around. And I would put, restaurants and takeaways who are feeding these people who need to work and who need a morale boost. And there is good news. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It seems hard to think about it right now because things seem so dark and uncertain, but in China, they are coming out the other side of it. Factories are reopening. The temporary hospitals that they set up are closing. And people are recovering, and the number of cases being reported daily is getting lower and lower. So what we would hope is, when we look back at this ourselves in a month or two, that we've really followed the trend that we've seen from China. I'm going to pass it over to Stephen now, who's our Chief Financial Officer, and he'll give kind of some financial information that could be helpful for you guys.
Thanks a million, Heather, and thanks everybody for coming on this webinar. Yeah, so as Heather was saying, I'm Stephen, I'm the CFO here at Flipdish. I suppose I'm here today to talk to you about the practical steps and facilities available for restaurants and takeaways in order to help and overcome and get through this crisis. There's a number of different practical steps our customers and businesses in the sector can take. I'm going to split it down by a number of categories there. Start off in initially with the bank and government support. As Heather and James had previously stated, it is a very fluid situation. There's been measures being announced by the government on a daily, weekly basis. In Ireland currently, there's a moratorium for businesses that have existing debt. So and that's for a period of up to 6 months. So basically customers with existing liabilities and that have repayments can seek a holiday essentially from those repayments for up to 6 months. I was in direct contact with top level executive in AIB and Bank of Ireland today, and they're working very closely with the central bank in terms of relaxing and help fast track these new products to the market. Also to ensure that it doesn't affect credit ratings for both businesses and individuals. The UK have announced a similar measure for businesses in terms of actually seeking moratoriums for debt. There's working capital facilities, new working capital facilities available. This helps, I suppose, restaurants get through this difficult time. There's a credit guarantee scheme up to €1 million being provided to help businesses. Also for SME, smaller businesses, Microfinance Ireland have loans up to 50,000 at about 7% interest rate. Again, the facilities will vary depending on the needs and the size of the businesses. And again, as I said to you, the government and the banks are coming out with weekly measures in terms of helping support businesses through this difficult time. For individuals, there's moratoriums in place similar to businesses in terms of further principal private residence, their homes. So announcements were made last week in relation to essentially a mortgage, a holiday for a period of 3 months for individuals that have been directly affected by COVID-19. Bank of Ireland actually on their website, you can click and go right through in terms of applying for that. There's a link on their page. AIB have asked them to, on their own website, they've asked people to call a special number to apply for this. And we expect this to be, again, may well be increased in the coming months, depending how difficult this crisis gets. In the UK, there's grants available specifically for the retail and hospitality sector. Again, sort of SME type grants from £10,000 to £25,000. There's also a special coronavirus business interruption loan scheme available for up to £5 million for larger businesses. Again, this has helped to facilitate working capital needs for businesses going through this difficult period. Again, I put up a couple of links there on gov.ie and gov.uk, and they have relevant grants and mechanisms available for businesses and individuals alike. I would, I suppose, encourage and urge people to get on these links, and they are updated. So providing more measures are being released by the government. So I suppose for businesses, her sales may have been dramatically affected over the past coming days and weeks. Unfortunately, salaries in this sector account for the vast bulk of costs. And unfortunately, layoffs are inevitable. 140,000 people were laid off in the last week, and we expect a further 200,000 in the coming week ahead, unfortunately. Employers, I suppose, are initially looking at discretionary spend and all variable spend that they can cut out of their profit and loss accounts. But inevitably, unfortunately, they have to look at salary costs. So for employers and businesses in the hospitality sector, they can utilize layoffs. So this is short term for people to stop paying them immediately, essentially. They can put them on reduced working hours and ask them to take some unpaid leave. And there's also obviously an option for redundancy, providing certain steps are met. I suppose for businesses, just to be mindful and careful in terms of seeking the appropriate advice prior to implementing cost rationalizations to ensure that they're adhering to legislation and certain laws being set out by government. For employees that unfortunately are affected by layoffs, specifically or reducing working hours, there's a special COVID-19 unemployment benefit available now for them. This can be applied for directly through mywelfare.ie. This is €203 per week supplement for employees that are affected by both layoff and or reduced working hours. for a maximum of 6 weeks currently. Again, very fluid situation. This may change in the coming days and weeks ahead. It may be increased because there's pressure from unions and from, I suppose, from people alike in terms of actually ensuring that they're able to meet their day-to-day spend. For businesses, specifically in relation to taxation, in Ireland, the government announced the fact that the revenue won't be applying any interest penalties or late penalties for payment of taxes, whether it be VAT, POE, or corporation tax, and they're suspending debt collection services. I do expect in the coming weeks ahead that this will increase. They've asked companies to continue and businesses to continue filing returns, and if they cannot meet obligations to engage, contact them, and we can hopefully set up adequate repayment facilities or prolong the liabilities until such time that the business is able to meet the debts. In the UK, there is similar, very similar outline in terms of actually they're providing installments for customers that are, or for businesses that are finding it difficult to pay their taxes. They're cancelling any interest or penalties and suspending all debt collection services. Again, the primary driver here is to engage at an early stage with revenue. I unfortunately was around on the last crash, and one of the things that I've learned from an early stage is to engage, whether it be with creditors or the revenue authorities, landlord, with staff. Engage at an early stage, let them know what's happening, explain the difficulties. Unfortunately, it's going to affect a lot of businesses and a lot of people in lots of different sectors. So engage with them and try to seek, I suppose, a compromise in terms of what you're able to do in terms of payments. And obviously that's similar goes for the creditors, rent, lease, suppliers. There may be some availability to implement a break clause with your landlord, negotiate with them in terms of actually the terms, albeit there's a legal agreement in place with the landlord. They are in a precarious position, like lots of stores, that they're going to find it difficult to recoup the funds from a lot of their tenants. So very much engage with them, keep them in the loop, and try to negotiate new terms with them to so that you can come out the other side. The same goes for suppliers. For example, in the UK, the government announced early this week that they're applying a 12-month business rates holiday for all businesses. I just, basically before this webinar, Pascal Donoghue just announced a 3-month rate-free holiday for businesses in Ireland, and I do expect that to be extended in line with the UK, hopefully in the coming weeks. Albeit it may be a small cost, it's significant in terms of the sentiment behind it, I believe. On the operations side of things, how businesses can save costs is basically, as Heather touched on what Heather was saying previously, tailoring their menu to manage, I suppose, maybe their waste or to reduce that as much as possible, increase profitability per the orders in terms of the dishes that sell well, the margin for the dishes, not to implement discounts at this stage. And again, considering what James had discussed earlier in relation to what we're seeing in terms of peak times for deliveries, or sorry, excuse me, for ordering, it has obviously changed from people working from home. So staffing levels will be adjusted accordingly to ensure that maximizing in terms of actually return. Also considered adjusting opening hours based on changed demand and peak times, just said. One thing I want to pick up on is in terms of the insurance. There is a disruption cover within policies for businesses, and again, I would urge businesses to seek clarity and look at their cover that they have in place. This does cover for temporary business closures. Unfortunately, during the week, some of the larger insurers came out in the media and stated that they weren't going to cover businesses for COVID-19. It's very much a sensitive topic, and it's something I think the government will probably have to step in and may mitigate the costs for businesses, because we firmly are of the view of the fact that insurance is there for a reason, as to help our customers and help help restaurants in the sector. So again, just to be mindful of the fact that you may have an adequate insurance in place to actually help with you in these difficult times, I suppose, you know. So yeah, so thank you very much for listening to me. I suppose that's just a snippet. There's obviously lots of other different advice out there in terms of how to help your business through the coming days and weeks ahead. As again, just to reiterate the fact that look at the supports available from banking, from the government side of things. Use them. Try to hibernate your business, i.e., reduce unnecessary spending. Maximize your salary costs, or sorry, minimize your salary costs where you can, and again, keep open environment with your suppliers, your landlord, and the revenue authorities, and you know, put in place necessary repayment schedules that you can meet into the future. And yeah, just want to wish you all the very best luck.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for that really helpful and very practical advice. I know it can be very scary trying to navigate some of these financial websites. So it's great to hear that there's already so many supports and options available. So thank you everyone for staying online. I can still see loads of you there, which is really super. So I'm kind of a firm believer, even in hard times, there's a possibility to have some fun. So we're just going to have a little bit of a quiz. I'm going to ask 3 questions about what we've talked on. And to keep it really simple, basically the fastest to reply with the right answer in chat is going to be the winner of each question. And we have €300 Amazon gift cards to give away. So when you're all at home, you can order something from Amazon online, and you can only win 1 each. So you might notice at the bottom of your screen, there should be like a little black bar, and you'll see a little bubble with chat on it. You just need to switch yourself to answer to all panelists and attendees. That'll just make sure that everyone else on the line can see the answers that you're putting in as well. So I'm just going to give folks about 5 seconds to find that on their computers and to make that little switch. And then I'm going to do just a quick test question. Cool. So no prize for this one. I had to think about this answer, which is maybe bad, but how many fingers does Homer Simpson have? Oh, loads of them. Oh, you guys are quick. This is going to be this is going to be a difficult one to win the prizes. So we have an 8, and we have it from Shah Khan. Unfortunately, this one wasn't a prize-winning question, so be equally as quick and correct on the next one. So first question: what country mentioned in this webinar has had 20% of their stores temporarily close their doors? Oh, and Tim is right in there. Thank you, Tim. So yeah, the right answer was Spain. So Tim will message you to arrange that lovely €100 Amazon gift voucher. Don't worry guys, if you weren't quick enough this time, we still have 2 more questions to go. So question number 2, and this is a little bit harder. To the nearest 10,000, how many COVID-19 cases have been confirmed worldwide? Gosh, people are replying before I've even finished the question. You guys are on top of it today. Lots of answers. Trying to make sure now I keep this fair and pick the first person, but keep them coming in. Okay, so Shah, who was fast on the first question, is keeping up that speed and is our lucky winner number 2 of our second voucher. So well done. We'll message you afterwards to arrange that. So last chance, guys. So fingers at the ready. I'm keeping it easy this time. Question 3, the number of orders being placed in the afternoon has increased by how many percentage points? Oh, wow. You guys really are quick, in before I've even finished the question. Oh, Emer Brady. Well done, Emer. The winner of our third prize voucher. So again, Emer, we'll message you and we'll arrange that. Thank you everyone for being such a good sport. Lots of people quick off the mark there, and lots of people, it seems like, we're paying attention. So again, thank you so much to everyone who who came on and who have stayed on. It's great to see so many of you here. I hope you were able to take away some practical advice. We'd love to open up if anyone does have any questions. Again, on the bottom of your screen, you should see a little bubble, kind of has like 2 little bubbles, and it says Q&A. We'd love if you guys can submit some questions in there if you might have any. I see some folks have been throughout the webinar as well.
Yep, Heather, James speaking here. There's a couple of questions that came in while you were talking, and I can go through them. So there's one from Des Mackin here. We cannot do collection in store. Everything needs to be delivery. So I was thinking we could do delivery by ourselves within a radius of 500 meters from the shop, and everything else could be a third party. So yes, absolutely, that is possible. And if you contact your customer success manager, we can set that up for you. There was one from Ava saying they can't hear James. Okay, sorry about that. Do we know if the Chinese food businesses are now reopening? So yes, Heather had a slide on that, and they are. So Tom, I'm looking to get you an accurate answer, but as far as I know, they did continue ordering in Italy at the height of the crisis and delivering.
And someone wants to know what I meant by Netflix and chill. Just means sit in front of your TV and eat lots of food. Thanks, yeah. Anthony. Good question. Okay.
Okay, Heather, over to you. Thanks.
Cool. So some folks are asking, what would you propose would be the best strategy when the consumer spending weakens without having a negative impact on the company? And they're asking, you know, do we consider discounts or loyalty? Absolutely. I think that's when, you know, I talked about perhaps the frequency of folks' loyalty programs may need to be revisited. And perhaps you make it that it's buy 6, buy 7 and get 1 free, and it just encourages that extra spend from your consumers. I do think perhaps at that stage you may want to look at discounting, so whether that's a percentage off, or what can be very strong is, you know, if you offer say €5 off over a certain order amount, because that does give your business some security. What we generally see, if it's like €5 off over €20, people actually spend the extra €5 or £5 anyway. It's just kind of general consumer psychology. So definitely, and you know, if you are an existing customer with us, our customer success team would be more than happy to kind of work through some strategies that would suit your business as well. So some folks are asking, will the slides be emailed or available? We'll be putting stuff on our flipdish.com/webinars page. So you'll have a recording of the website, of the webinar there, and any of the slides that were. If you are an existing customer, you're also welcome to chat to your customer success manager, and we can share the slides with you that way as well. Folks are asking, do we do delivery? We don't directly, because we're not a marketplace, but we do have a quite significant partner network who can. So Ashing, if you want to let us know where you're based, we'll be able to make that right connection for you. Des is asking, can we get people to put a requirement for input of email and then collect a database? So Des, I believe you're one of our customers. Thanks for joining. Yes, absolutely. That is possible actually within your Flipdish system. So if you're not quite sure how to use that, we'd be happy to explain. Ashing, how easy is it to get set up with Flipdish? James, I might throw that one to you because I know you've had lots of experience with this over the last week.
Thanks, Heather. Yep. So it's very quick and easy to get set up with Flipdish, depending on how your business is set up. If you're a single store location or if you're a multi-store chain, it can take longer. So if you're a single store location, we can get you set up with online ordering on your website within a couple of hours. It kind of depends on how complex your menu is, but like Heather was saying, that maybe it makes sense to have the kind of the essentials on the menu and the high margin items. So if you have a website, we can embed online ordering onto your existing website. If you don't have a website, we can set a website up for you from scratch. And like I said, that it can happen in a couple of hours. and we have an extensive network of delivery drivers across Ireland and the UK and in Europe. So we can set you up with delivery as well.
Brilliant, thanks. And actually, we will have you'll see on screen there's an email that you can get in touch with, sales@flipdish.com, and James and one of the team here will be more than happy to bring you through the process. Some great questions still there. I'm just mindful we're after taking so much of your time this afternoon already. So I wanted to we'll reply privately to those. Like I said, there'll also be the webinar recording and the slides available on our website, and I'll hand it back to Connor just to kind of wrap up for us.
Thanks, Heather. So thanks everybody so much for joining. We really hope you got some value from this. If you have any friends or colleagues in the restaurant industry who you think would benefit from it, please let them know that there will be a recording of this available on our website at flipdish.com/webinars. That will be there by tomorrow. And as well, if there's anything that you missed, you can access the webinar there. So thank you all very much, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.